Our next guest runs an AI startup backed by Nvidia. Let's bring in Jack Hidary, SandboxAQ CEO. Welcome back,
Hey,
Jack.
Sarah. Hey, David.
Sitting on the intersection of quantum and AI. First on Nvidia.
Going on in AI.
So
a lot going on.
The push to record highs.
Yeah.
Is it justified by fundamental appetite, innovation, where we are in this cycle? How do you view it?
There's really two groups of companies. There's the companies who are AI is their core business, and we're seeing the market caps of Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, and others really benefit from that. I'll make a prediction right here. I think we'll see the first and maybe 1 or 2 $5 trillion market caps in the next 12 to 24 months. Nvidia, Microsoft being the most likely. Others may be following because their core business is actually driven by AI. The second bucket of companies are industrials, pharma, so on and so forth. They're using AI right now at the margin. They're using LLMs, for example, to improve customer service while reducing $10, $20 million worth. They're using it in marketing, but that's not the core business. So they're not really seeing the lift that the Mag 7 are seeing. They're going to have a tougher time. And I think that the percentage of market cap of the entire economy that the Mag 7 represent, which is now hovering around 30%, is going to increase dramatically in the next 36 months.
Why? Where are we in the sort of demand curve?
Right now,
AI?
we're seeing that people want to adopt large language models. They need the cloud. They need Azure. They need GCP. They need Amazon. But the companies themselves, pharma companies, logistics companies, CPG companies, retailers, are a bit slow in terms of realizing the benefits of that AI. And the reason is large language models do not help your core business. They help you at the margin, reducing some expenses. We need to see a bigger palette of AI. Large quantitative models, AI models for pharma, things like that.
He's talking his own book here now.
Hey, that's my job, right?
Which is fine, but how does...
But that's my argument,
Give
David.
me the evolution of that, then, using SandboxAQ as an example, and also related to how that's going to still increase the use and need for compute,
exactly.
Which is why we still see Nvidia go up.
Yeah. So what we're seeing is, great example, last week we announced with Nvidia a new data set of 5 million compounds that you can use as Lego blocks to build therapeutics for cancer, for Alzheimer's, for Parkinson's. That really is going to cut down the cost and time to make a new drug. That combination of Sandbox software and Nvidia hardware, that's the key that unlocked that first-in-class data set. We're going to see more and more of that. That impacts the pharma community. That impacts people like Dow Chemical and other chemical companies. So the first wave of AI, last 2.5 years, was really about large language models. We now are going to see the quantitative side come in. NVIDIA is going to help power that, and the cloud, to your point about quantitative. These GPUs could do more than just language models. They're multifunctional. And what we're going to see with Blackwell, with Vera Rubin, with new products from AMD, and the new chips also, let's not forget, Alphabet and others are also now in the chip business.
Amazon as well.
Amazon, Tesla has got their D1 chip and their other chips. So we're going to see a bigger pot of chip-making innovation than just NVIDIA.
And reasoning obviously takes over from training, requires as much or more compute?
Reasoning requires about 5x the compute as training. And that means that cloud companies need to actually make sure they have enough capacity for that. That also brings us back to power. The energy sector.
Right.
And there's been a lot of questions about how that happens. I think Texas is going to be key to that. Texas has a lot of gas peakers. If you look at what happened in Memphis with Elon's big mega center there, he went beyond what he was supposed to. They're supposed to build about 5 or 6 gas peakers. He built 10 or 15. Energy is key to this ballgame.
You seemed a little disappointed when you talked about some of the advancements from companies like pharma or retail or consumer. Why? What are you seeing? Because it feels like they're all, I know it's not in their core business, but how should they be doing things differently?
Well, we are seeing about a 10 to 20% lift in productivity in coding. And so every company now has coders. Walmart's got coders. Pharma companies have coders. And that's great to see that 10, 20% lift using Colab, GitHub, other kinds of tools out there. But again, we've got to see it hit the 80% of the economy. So one thing is market cap, right? We just talked about market cap. We're at Mag 7 about 30%. Looking at GDP, the percent of GDP, 80% of the GDP has not yet been impacted yet by AI.
Small business. I mean, what?
Small business, and also the industrials, the pharma, and things like that. That's where the next 3 to 4 years, that's the key. Which are going to be the winners and losers in the automaker space, right? You look at BYD and what they're doing, and they're taking over Europe right now. They can't get into the U.S. because of protectionism.
Yes.
But if they were here, they'd be taking over. BYD is using advanced technology and AI like you've never seen. And
are they really? That more than we are, more than Tesla is, or any of our
about equal to Tesla, but more than any of our domestic car companies outside of Tesla.
Yeah.
I was in Shenzhen 3 times with Wang Xiaofu, the founder of BYD, Build Your Dream, BYD as it's known in Mandarin, and they have a plan and a focus using AI, using technology in ways that we just don't see in the domestic.
Why don't you go tell Mary Barra that?
We are definitely engaging and talking, but I really hope that we can see our domestic companies
Jack,
come
a couple
there.
of quick, as somebody who's followed technology for so many years, and you and I have known each other for so many years, the beginning of the internet, frankly.
Yeah.
So what do you think are going to be the impact in terms of employment when we talk about what is yet to come?
I think there is going to be a hit. There's no doubt that AI is taking over more and more functions. And the question is, can we provide that productivity to current workers so they can keep their job but actually be more impactful in the job? The question is, are we in a zero-sum pie with our current economy? Or are we in a growth where we can grow the pie bigger so that each individual empowered with AI can actually contribute more to a bigger economy? I think there's going to be displacement, and that's why we've really got to think about, each company has got to think about that. Amazon, to their credit, has put aside $1 billion in retraining budget right now for their 800,000 warehouse workers.
Who are going to be eventually replaced, many of them potentially by robotics.
David, look at robotics. Yeah. Look at Figure. Look at Tesla robots. Look at about 7 well-funded robotics companies.
Not to mention the Chinese, of course.
Chinese. There's 9 companies we're following over there that are very well-funded, and they're going to come into markets. And as humanoid robots come in, those 800,000 people at Amazon, they're at risk. Amazon, to its credit, is getting ahead of the game and thinking about what else can they do.
Yeah. Finally, something else I know you cover is, quantum computing is part of this, maybe a number of years out. You follow it in China as well. Just briefly explain to our viewers what may be coming there and how that will either twin with or replace AI or advance it even more.
Well, there's definitely an arms race right now between the U.S. and China when it comes to quantum. They've got Pan Jianwei, who's a world-renowned physicist, leading their effort. He's kind of like a Robert Oppenheimer. If you think about the Manhattan Project, he's been given about $15 billion of funding to drive that effort. And we're going to see this race on quantum. Now, 2 aspects of quantum. On the positive side, unleashing a lot of potential for drug discovery. But on the negative side and threat side, the first quantum scale computing is the first to crack all the encryption that we use to move around bits in the New York Stock Exchange, in our banking system, our telco system. Well, that's the question. Right now, it's toe and toe. And so the question is the U.S. investing enough to make sure that we can protect ourselves against this quantum threat? That's an open question right now.
Is that conversation happening at the highest levels of government?
The good news is I can tell you that it's happening. I think you'll see some very relevant stuff out of D.C. in the next 6 months. And this is a very important conversation. Yes, there's a lot of trade conversations going on, but this race on quantum is critical and fundamental.
From a national defense
national defense and security point of view. And I think that what the Iran conflict that just happened reminds us, if you look at the spoofing and jamming of GPS in this conflict, if you look at the cyber attacks that Iran also launched, people were reporting a lot on the missiles. But while the missiles were flying, cyber attacks were happening to bring down grids, to bring down infrastructure. That is as critical, and that's where AI needs to play a key role, helping us navigate when there's no GPS. In an adversarial conflict with a major peer, there aren't and can be any GPS satellites in the sky. Right, they will be shot down, and that's already public information, and that's going to happen. You need to be able to navigate with no GPS. You need to be able to prevent cyber attack. This AI world on defense side is something we haven't talked about enough yet. Let's really help get to the next stage of entrepreneurship, of getting everyone involved in that sector.
Another native here. Grew up in the same time frame as me, baby. In the 70s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's also in Florida, I think.
Yeah.
Now, but not then.
Also recently named Times, one of Times'
today just announced, Time Magazine announced SandboxAQ as one of the top 100 most influential companies. So shout out to Time.
Thank you.
Great to see you both.
Jack Hidary, SandboxAQ.